Are you curious to eat the Mediterranean diet, but you're not really sure where to start? Well, if so, this video is for you because you are going to help me tonight make the simplest Mediterranean diet salad there is. This is delicious. You can eat it pretty much all year long. Now, if you stick around to the end of this video, I'm going to go online into some of those little nutrition tracker programs and we're going to break down the actual nutrient profile of this meal. So if you want to stick around and understand exactly what you'd be eating if you were making this for yourself, wait until the end and I will give you that bonus material. I should put this caveat. I am a medical doctor. I do have a nutrition degree, but I do not have a cute food Instagram. Depending on what kind of a diet you follow or what kinds of foods you eat, you can adapt this to make it fit your needs. So the way I'm preparing it tonight is a vegetarian version because it will have a little bit of feta cheese, but you could easily remove the feta and then it's a vegan salad. If you want to throw on some tofu or some fish or some meat, you could do that. So I'll walk you through the ingredients first. We're gonna have our base being romaine salad, romaine lettuce. And in Italian, lettuce is insalate. I'm gonna tell you guys some Italian words to just keep it fun. I like romaine because of the crunch. Now, to make it a little bit more nutrient dense, I'm going to balance that out with a little bit of baby spinach. And spinach has a lot more nutrition. I love the summer variety of these tomatoes because the flavor is amazing. I like to have something that's seasonal in every meal that I can. We're also going to have a little bit of cucumber and I'm going to throw in some avocado into this. I'm not gonna use the whole thing because I'm just one person. That's a lot of avocado for me, but I probably will put in a half. And then I did mention we're going to use some crumbled feta cheese. I want to make this kind of seedy and nutty. And I'm doing that because it really boosts the nutritional profile of this salad overall when you add things like nuts or seeds. And it adds a ton of fiber, which is so important for our digestion, helps us absorb water. Ideally, if you can get the foods in like directly from a farm, so whether you have a CSA in your town, or you can go to a farmer's market, that's really the best because the plastic that we use in this world is terrible. I try to be as mindful of that as I can, but it's really hard to entirely avoid it. Okay, so we have our romaine lettuce. I'm going to put in the spinach. Let's break down a few of the Mediterranean diet truths versus myths while we're putting this together. So truth, the Mediterranean diet is centered on foods that grow in the Mediterranean region. Really not just rooted in like Italian foods or Greek foods. It's kind of like any and all of them. Keep an open mind that there's more than one culture when it comes to Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet is an ancient diet and it's really not a diet. So think back to hundreds and thousands of years ago. People were living off the land. Most people were farmers. There were no supermarkets. There was no refrigeration. You had no option but to eat things that grew in season. So people ate what grew around them. It's a pretty good climate for growing nightshade vegetables. So these are tomatoes, eggplant, and peppers, zucchinis. Those are also really abundant in this region. In addition, people eat a lot of fish. They eat a lot of fish, which automatically tends to decrease their meat consumption. We know that fish is linked to lots of health boosting benefits. A diet full of an adequate amount of fish consumption will have you eating a lot of omega-3 fatty acids, which are very good for your brain, very good for your nervous system. Okay, so we have our cucumber inside of that. Avocado. This avocado rocks. It's like absolutely perfectly ripe. Look at that. Look at that. It's gorgeous. I've seen somebody do something crazy. They peel it. So like, let's see if this works. I've never done this before. I'm really being bold. Oh, it totally works really well. Look at this. Be careful when you chop an avocado. It's oily, right? So it's super slippery. And if you're not careful where your fingers are and that knife goes slipping, you might be visiting the ER. Avocado, just like fish, it is super packed with healthy fat, a lot of vitamin E being one of our fat-based vitamins. There are 4 of them. Vitamin A, D, E, and K are fat-based molecules. All the other ones, so all the B vitamins and vitamin C are water-based. Why does that matter? Well, that matters because of the way that those nutrients are metabolized in our body. I'm oversimplifying this, but for most things, any molecule, so whether this is a nutrient that comes from food, whether this is a drug or a pharmaceutical, anything, any molecule that is water-based in our body is usually broken down and metabolized by the kidneys. Alternatively, anything that is fat-based whether it's a nutrient, whether it's a drug, whether it's a hormone, is often metabolized or broken down by the liver. And so you can kind of imagine if somebody had kidney problems or liver problems, especially chronic ones, you can imagine how this is going to impact their ability to break down certain things in their body, and toxins can build up. And this is problematic with taking certain pharmaceuticals, because the way drugs work in our body is we anticipate they have their effect and then they're gonna get broken down, but if they're not, that can cause a problem. And then for nutrition, we also want to have enough nutrition coming into our body, but we also need to have the byproducts going out. And so when that process is not streamlined and perfect, problems can arise. Now, I'm really rogue in the kitchen, design my meal as I go, but I never design my grocery list as I go. I always make a list before I go to the grocery store. So I try to plan my grocery list and less so plan my meals. It's good to wing it sometimes, but if we wing it all the time, then we're really unfocused and then we're not really maintaining our goals. I think there's a lot of hype in this country, obsessing over being healthy. I gotta tell ya, living 6 years in Italy, my friends never talk about nutrition. They never talk about being healthy. They think about taking care of themselves and taking time to rest. That is, Italians are the absolute best at that. They're like, I need to go sit in the sun for the next 30 minutes for the mental health. They do it. And you know, their society kind of supports that. Like in August, Italy is closed. Why? Because everyone's on vacation. That was our vegetable portion, which is, if you notice, the absolute bulk of the salad. I like the focus to be on the vegetables, absolute focus. You don't want it to be like a little bit of lettuce and then like meat and cheese. I mean, that's not even really a salad at that point, but you'd be surprised, a lot of people do that. So now we're gonna move on to the protein portion of this. And we have a whole array. We are going to put in some sunflower seeds. I'm also going to put in some sliced almonds, which, you know, I'm not gonna slice them myself. I feel like I don't even know how I would do that. You'd have to have like a really nice mandolin. Too much work. I'm also going to put in some pumpkin seeds. So all of these things are so healthy for us. I can't even begin to tell you, but if you wait till the end, remember, I'm going to break down all the nutrition of this meal, so you're gonna find out exactly what vitamins, minerals, calories, macronutrient distribution is in this meal. The last thing is I am going to put on a little bit of this feta, and then I'm going to make a dressing that's not really even a dressing. It's gonna be a little bit of tahini, juice of half a lemon, olive oil, olio d'oliva. Of course, I bought Italian. Okay, let's talk before we put in all the fixins. How do you store your oil to keep its nutrition as high as possible? You don't need to put olive oil in the fridge. I think that's excessive, but you need to keep it out of the sunlight. The sun will damage the vitamin E. It will damage some of the nutrients inside of it, and it might alter the taste, so it's gonna go rancid. So before you ever put any oil on a salad, please smell it. If it smells bad, it is bad. And it's not gonna be good for you inside your body either. An array of flavors, depending on what type you get. Sometimes it smells like floral. You can tell I like tasting wine. Cucchiaio. Cucchiaio is a word, one of my favorite words in Italian for spoon. Let's measure some of this out. I don't wanna just dump all of the seeds and the cheese onto my salad. This is the part where I think it's really important to measure it, because it's very packed with healthy fats, but fats nonetheless. And fats have the highest amount of calories in their foods. So why am I saying that? Rule of thumb to think about things. When something is a fat-based food, you don't need a lot of it to get enough to make yourself really full. And all the fatty foods have a lot of the flavor. Okay, so I'm going to just do, this is basically 1 tablespoon of seeds. That's kind of it. Okay, so maybe I'll do 1.5. But back to some nutrition thinking. Nutrition thinking. So that is, I kind of just made this term up, but it's the way I think about it when I look at a food and I have a general understanding of the macronutrient distribution of that food. So you're not in the actual numbers, but saying like, okay, cheese, is this mostly fat, mostly protein, or mostly carbohydrate? Tomatoes, is this mostly fat, mostly protein, or mostly carbohydrate? So some of the things are more obvious than others. Of course, anything that's like a grain, anything that's a fruit or a vegetable is pretty much just a carb. There's next to no fats or protein in those things, although there are trace amounts. But when I'm looking at something like a seed, it's not so cut and dry. It's a little bit more complex, but it's mostly a fat, and there is protein and there is carb. Now the carb that's in those things is usually the kind of fiber that we don't absorb in our bodies that well, so it kind of comes out as that bulk component of our you know what. So I'm just going to use this more sparingly because otherwise you can really go crazy with the calories. And I'm not necessarily somebody who's concerned about like counting calories, and I'll tell you why. If we're eating a Mediterranean diet approach, I try to think about like how have people been eating this way for hundreds of years. They for sure weren't counting calories in the year 1200, but they were still eating this way and they were still reaping the benefits of it. So I'm okay with people counting calories because that's how some people need to be in order to feel balanced and well, but it can also cause you to feel a little bit neurotic. So just make sure you're doing what is the healthiest for you, both physically and mentally. However, if weight loss is your goal, you are going to lose weight so much faster if you really know exactly how much stuff is coming into your body and how much exercise you're doing. Like if you're really tracking that stuff, you're fast tracking yourself to achieving your goal. So those are kind of two different things. Like being healthy and losing weight are both great and they often go together, but they're not necessarily identical goals. So they don't always need the exact same approach. If that's confusing to you, I will break that down for you in another video. So this stuff kind of coats all over this, and I'm just gonna drizzle the tahini all over it, being aware that it's thick. It's like a peanut butter, right? Delicious. So I wish you guys could smell this. We did our little lemon dance, and now we're gonna put on some feta olio. I am measuring my oil. It is so easy to do, like go crazy with it. I don't measure my balsamic vinegar when I use it, or any vinegar, but I measure the oil. A tablespoon, y'all. Not more. Why? I also put the tahini in. It's pure fat, basically. It's just ground up sesame seeds. So you don't need too much to get exactly the flavor that you want and the nutrition that your body needs. You're gonna get full from this. And you will see when we break down the nutrition online and I show you all the like nutrient components of this, this is actually gonna have more calories than you realize. And it might make you think about salads a little bit differently. So here's a fun little fact about black pepper that I learned from herbalists. Black pepper apparently helps you absorb the nutrients in food. I don't know that there's any validated evidence to prove that, but sounds pretty good to me. Okay, I'm going to start stirring this guy. Once I do, I'm gonna see how much wetness there is to the salads. Does it look like a dry salad, or does it need a little bit more help? And when I think about that, how many sources of fat that are adding wetness to this do I already have on here before I just go and lop on all the olive oil? Well, like I said, I have the tahini dressing, which is the ground sesame seed. I also have avocado. I have half an avocado chopped into this. So some of that avocado is gonna add like a creaminess to it, and it's gonna rub off on these vegetables. And I might not realize that at first, but it is going to almost add like a little bit of dressing aspect to this. And we have a little feta cheese. That looks amazing. Now it's all kind of mixed with that tahini dressing, which takes away a lot of the shine, but all of the delicious nutrition is there. And so let's see, how are we doing? Delicioso. There you have it. If you've followed along with me, you just made an awesome Mediterranean diet salad that can be enjoyed pretty much anytime. If I weren't explaining everything to you, I probably could have put all of this together in literally 5 minutes or less. It's easy, you guys. I promise you, this is easy. Everyone can do this. If you don't like one of the ingredients, just skip it. Try it out. It's amazing. It's delicious. So if you're still here with me, we're gonna get into our bonus material, and I want to break down all of the nutrition of this meal for you. Let's walk through it.